to order. So, good evening. Welcome to the first meeting of the 2018 year. Happy New Year to everyone. This is a regular meeting of the Bloomfield Hills Board of Education on January the 18th. And I'll ask our Secretary, Jackie, to take attendance, please.
Madam President, all board members are present.
Very good, thank you. Let's salute the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This may be a normal board meeting, but we normally don't have baskets in front of us. This is interesting.
I was going to say the same thing. Thank you, Mr. Ford. At this point, I would like to call upon Mr. Paul Colin, who is chair of our board nominating committee. Each year, it is the duty of the board to select the officers for the year ahead that will be serving from January of 18 till the election in January of 19. The nominating committee has consisted of chaired by Mr. Colin, and with Mr. Bank and Dr. Al-Sayed. And at this time, I'd like to ask for the report of the committee.
So yes, the committee met and we decided on a slate unanimously. So the slate is as follows. For the position of president, Cynthia Von Oyen. For the position of vice president, Paul Colin. For the position of treasurer, Mark Bank. And for the position of secretary, Dr. Jackie Al-Sayed.
And would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that the board approves the slate recommended by the nominating committee as just described below.
Support.
Is there any discussion of the motion? Any other nominations from the floor? Then I'll call for the motion. All in favor of the slate, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. I have to say thank you to all of my colleagues for your confidence that you express in me. I will do my best to execute the business of our community and our school district as my ability. So I appreciate it very much. We have a wonderful team here. Really appreciate the opportunity to work with all of you, and I think we really look forward to the year ahead. So it has been our practice and part of our duties each year as we select our officers and do our annual organization to complete a form that talks about the standards and principles that we intend to uphold as Board of Education members. And I'd just like to call attention for our community to know these are the things that we hold ourselves to. That we will make every effort to attend every board meeting and every meeting of board committees to which we are assigned, liaison committees, and attend other district and community functions, to be on time and well prepared for all meetings, to be an engaged board member during meetings and other functions, to be collaborative, to be attentive to board business alone, respectful of fellow board members, to conduct ourselves in every setting where we represent the district or the students in Bloomfield Hills in a manner which promotes responsibility, accountability, decisiveness, and transparency, deliberate on school board matters in light of the impact of any decision has on our students and their academic achievement, our annual district goals, the perspective of our constituents, and any legal considerations and fiscal implications. And finally, seek to understand the position of my fellow board members and the superintendent, and work to build consensus through active listening and outreach. We will self-monitor to ensure one person's request for information doesn't divert an appropriate amount of time from staff effort to achieve district goals. Respect that the board president and superintendent serve as the spokespeople for the board in the school district. And understand that the authority of the board rests with the board as a whole, not with any one individual. and a decision of the board will be upheld by all board members. And we will all adhere to a policy 4602, which is our code of ethics, which is our guideline for school board principle of behaviors in confidentiality, in conflict of interest. And these are the key things that we hold ourselves accountable for our community. So each of us sign this statement annually to remind ourselves that these are the standards that we are holding ourselves up to. So if you can find your piece of paper, everybody, we should go ahead and get that done and file it away for the year ahead, knowing that we're renewed in our.
Can you pass it to me, or you want to pass it to you?
I can pass it to you. Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. All right, at this point, I'd like to invite Dr. Glass to give his report.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure. I'm going to start with the School Finance Research Collaborative. That's a mouthful, I know. And it was a very long process that this group, known as the School Finance Research Collaborative, undertook to try to determine what it costs to educate all Michigan students, regardless of their circumstances, their geography, where they live in the state, in their individual circumstances. What does it cost to educate that child to a high level that we would expect, where we would be a top 10 in 10 state, right? Where our education system would be in the very top. And it's taken many months. This has been an independently commissioned effort, nonpartisan, beautifully done with a broadly constructed board, advisory board of folks from all across the state, from every industry and every sector in the state. And we've been waiting for these results for a long time, and they came out yesterday, and you've probably read about it in the newspaper. Last night, I was able to get a download from someone who's on that steering committee, and I was so impressed. Of course, even the executive summary is 25 pages, so it's a very dense document. But the methodology, from what I can see, that they employed is so well done, and it will allow us to really think differently about school finance going forward, and think about how we really can have ways to sort of account for all those differences in funding if the state chooses to take that data and move in that direction. And I think that's the thing that for parents and educators and board members and anyone in our community, that's probably the big takeaway is really just two things. Number one, this was a very rigorous and very well done study by a very credible organization who was commissioned to do it. And second, that the real question is, will we take an honest look as a state and look at that data, and will we insist that our lawmakers and legislators and those who are in that domain of politics look at it and at least consider it together and see if there might be a better way forward, because it would be a real shame to have this data and then just have it not even discussed, not even debated, not even talked about. It is well worth a good look and a good conversation about where do we go next, and how can we get better, and how can we improve the equity of our funding across our state. So, really good stuff. I encourage you to go read the executive summary. It's easily available online. You can Google the School Finance Research Collaborative, Michigan, and you'll be able to find it easily and find links to the document and links to the website that talks about the process they used. It's just very, very well done. So I look forward to digging into it more, talking to our legislators more. The State of the State is coming up this week, and I'm sure this will be a hot topic at that event, at least among those attending. So other thing I want to alert people to is just a couple events in the district that I think are really important. One is an event January 23rd, coming right up this coming week at 7 p.m. in this room. It is another speaker in our Small Talk series, where we are bringing in speakers on various topics, usually around issues that affect public policy and education. This speaker is William J. Price. He is an Eastern Michigan University professor of educational leadership, and he's a widely recognized expert on school funding and school finance. So given what I spoke about with regard to the School Finance Research Collaborative, this would be a great opportunity for anyone to come out and listen to Dr. Price. There are several other, if you go to our website and you look and you Google search Small Talk, you will be able to see that we have other events coming with other state representatives who will be visiting with us. It's available to our entire, our parents and our community, and we think that this will be an ongoing series to build relationships with those decision makers who affect our future, so that we can affect, their thinking and make sure they have all the information they need, and also that we feel comfortable to pick up the phone or email when we are concerned about something or when we want to advocate for something. On February 3rd, coming up, we have a multilingual Model United Nations event at Bloomfield Hills High School. It might be the first time this has been done anywhere. It is an event in which, if you're familiar with Model UN, students assume roles of ambassador and political roles, and really engage in trying to resolve various conflicts, worldwide conflicts, as though they were diplomats and as though they were part of the governing structure of an actual country, and they debate the issues, and this just happens in real time. And that's really cool. If you've never seen it, it's something you should see. But what's really different about this is they're going to be doing this in a multitude of languages, in actual languages. So the World Language Department is partnering with the Model UN team, and they're going to pull this off. We've been in contact with a number of our elected officials about coming on down, and some are going to be coming. I'm going to be there. It's all day, so drop in and see. It'll be something to behold, and I think something that is a real example of the kind of depth of commitment and creative, holistic thinking you find in our district, where people try to push the envelope and make it more authentic and make it better. And the students just love this stuff. They love it. So that's February 3rd. I had a chance this week to have some superintendent dialogue, one superintendent dialogue, one school visit. I always appreciate that our parents come out and we just talk. We just open it up for questions. And usually I find it very informative. I learn a lot. I get a lot of feedback that I can use, in planning going forward, and I can also share information. So it's very helpful. Thank you to our parents and our PTOs who sponsor those. It's very, very grateful. I'm very grateful for that. And the last thing I'm going to mention is that I'd like to transition to our next special recognition, if it's okay with you, Madam President.
Yes, sir.
So what you see before you are some baskets that were put together. It is January is School Board Appreciation Month, and this is one small way of our teachers, our administrators, our students, our entire family here at Bloomfield Hills Schools to show their appreciation for the work that you do. You'll find in each basket items from all of the various schools, and they're very personal, and they all have a meaning. And on the thank you card, you'll see a complete listing on the inside of which item is from where. So the flower seeds are from Bloomin' Preschools. And in each grade, it just tells which school contributed and for each item. You'll really enjoy those. So I just want to say, when you passed around this standards document for the way that you agreed together to govern, I have to say, and how much I appreciate the fact that you truly abide by that and you truly live it, and you conduct this board and this team of board and administration. You conduct everything you do in a mutual respect and trust environment, and that is so important to really advancing our goals. And I hope that you feel you can always express questions, inquiries, concerns, and have access to the the transparent data that you need from this administration. That's our commitment to you, to try to always keep you informed. For those, who may be watching, I think one of the things that isn't readily apparent to most is between boards and administrations, we're doing all the day-to-day, and board members, while being charged with the ultimate outcomes of the school district, really don't get to see all of the detail in day-to-day, and that can create a little bit of anxiety, I would imagine. I've never been a board member, but I can imagine it could at times create some anxiety because people might ask you questions, or and then you might not readily have an answer because that's not your daily work. But the trick is, as for us, we as administration, to be proactive in communicating the things you most need to know, as much as we can anticipate them, and that for you to ask clarifying questions, and for you to ask me proactively, could we understand some more about these things? And we lay those out every year, during our retreat together, and we stick to those things. And I think that those are some of the secrets that you've developed that have made my job so much more effective and easy, and I think have hopefully made your roles as board members so successful. So I can't thank you enough for creating that environment, for investing in that environment, for believing in that kind of relationship. And you do this, and everybody needs to know, you do this out of the goodness of your heart and the love and commitment towards your community. You don't do it for one red cent. You do it strictly because you want to serve and because you care. And that is to be respected and honored and celebrated. And that's what we're going to do tonight. So thank you. Enjoy your baskets, and keep doing what you're doing. And thanks for making this district the best district in the state of Michigan.
Well, on behalf of my colleagues, I have to say it is our honor and privilege to have the opportunity to work with the consummate professionals who serve our schools and our children every day. This is my 20th year on this board, and I am grateful all the time for the opportunity to work with the people in our school district who are dedicated to our children and to the families and in this community. And I love looking at this with the socks from the sheep at our farm and the honey and all of the pieces that make up our school community. So thank you. Thank you for being part of allowing us to be in this kind of a great collaboration. I've never felt that I couldn't come to you with a question. I think we have a great team that listens to each other, and we come into our decision making, each of us, with a different process. We ask different kinds of questions, and I think our decisions are much richer because of it.
Yes, I do have a question, Madam President.
Sure.
For Rob. Rob, the February 3rd Maui UN event, if Shira hasn't already done it, is there any, what do you see as the wisdom of inviting the media to witness this? I'm just thinking about, that despite what's going on or not going on in Washington right now, diplomacy is as old as this country, and it serves such a valuable function. And unfortunately, it's getting a bad rap right now, and we're modeling some really bad behaviors for our students in Washington, in my personal opinion. And I know that team, and I know they're going to do it well, and they're going to do it right, and they're going to model, if you will, how this is supposed to work. And I think for the media to be able to see that, I think that would say great things about the district and about the importance of diplomacy. And the fact that, this is one way that we're trying to get that message across to our students in terms of how to be effective, responsible, contributing members of the global community.
Yeah.
So,
yes, and we have sent that out extensively, and we've asked people to pass it on to their channels.
Great.
Even some federal, level officials, we're hoping, are at least aware of it if they can't get here. So yes, thank you for that, and our media is aware of it. We'll keep pushing it.
Okay, well then, should we move on into the meat of our meeting? At this point, I'd like to ask Jackie to present our consent agenda.
Yes. I move that the Board of Education approve the recommendations detailed in the consent agenda as follows. Request to approve minutes, study session of December 7, 2017. Request to approve minutes, regular meeting of December 7, 2017. Request to approve minutes, study session of December 14, 2017. Request to approve minutes, special meeting of December 14, 2017. Request to approve monthly financial reports. Request to approve disbursement reports. Approval of Executive Energy Service, LLC, in the amount of $41,600 for 3 years. Annually for 3 years, sorry. Final contract payments for January 2018 in the amount of $126,709.21. Request to approve vehicle purchases for physical plant services in the amount of $30,349, $37,739, $239, $29,851.36, and $57,618. Request to approve procurement of new school buses in the amount of 2 special needs buses for a total of $206,414 and 6 conventional 65 passenger buses for the amount of $526,878. And request to approve HR actions.
Support? Support from Paul. Do I have discussion? So I just want to make a couple of quick comments. I want to first say thank you to Jeff Dorchuk, whose retirement we're accepting this evening for the end of the year. He's been with the district for 38 years. He has worked with children in amazing ways for a long time. He's been an amazing coach, and I wish him all the best in his retirement. So I just wanted to mention that. Paul, in his FFLA report in December, mentioned a couple of the items that are on our consent agenda this evening, but I wanted to point out particularly the Executive Energy Services, which is leading us $300,000 in recurring savings by working on with this, and I think it's a fabulous plan, and there's more to come, I think. So I think that's a really exciting thing. And just wanted to point out in the vehicle purchases, sometimes we've had people ask questions to us about vehicle purchases. All of those vehicles were over 10 years old. They do a lot of hard back-breaking workhorses that help us do the behind-the-scenes things. They help to keep our buildings working daily, 7 days a week, all year round. And so they get a lot of hard work, and they've put in more than 10 years of service to our community before being replaced. And we do have, I just also want to mention on our school buses, we do have a replacement schedule so that we are always trying to be sure that our buses, which get a great deal of action before we retire them, can also be safely transporting our kids. And we do purchase them through a collaborative. And the special ed buses we're purchasing through our special ed center fund. So those were things I thought we ought to just point out for our community. Any other comments about those items? Then I'll call for the question. All in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. All right, at this point, I'd like to invite a Special Education Parent Advisory Committee presentation.
Good evening. I'm pleased to introduce to you tonight Heather Rosenberg. She is one of our Parent Advisory Committee reps, also known as PAC. Our second rep is attempting to get home. She's caught in an airport in the south, and so luckily she'll get home safely tonight. Heather's going to talk briefly about her role and function as one of our PAC reps. Before Heather starts, I just wanted to share with you, every district in the state, we all have PAC reps. Our number, we have 2, and it's based on your total enrollment. So if you have a smaller enrollment, you have 1 rep. If you have a larger district, you can go up to 6 or 8 reps. So we have 2 reps. So Heather's just going to share with you briefly about her role as a liaison.
Hi, good evening. As Pam said, I'm Heather Rosenberg. It's fun that I've come full circle. I'm actually an Andover grad, and now we are raising our 3 girls in the district. I currently have an 8-year-old at Lone Pine, and she's in the ARP room. And my friend Angela and I, the other PAC rep, attend monthly meetings and meet with the other reps from the surrounding areas. It's the Oakland County group, and we get to hear sort of what's going on at the county level, the state level, and then at the federal level if it impacts us in any way. It's a wonderful opportunity to sort of meet with other parents who are in, similar situations, but in different districts and how other districts may do things, etc. Also, in addition to attending the meetings, if any parents have any questions about special education, either their current parents within the district or else those who are considering moving to the district, our contact information is available and we can be in touch with them at any time. So, as parents who are going through it, of course, Pam and other educators are available, but sometimes the parent link is a nice piece. So that's my pleasure. I enjoy doing it. So thank you. Thank you.
I got a question for you.
Oh, sure.
So do you ever go and report to PTOC on what you've been learning at those meetings?
Oh, that's a great question. So first of all, Pam, Angela, the other representative, and I meet together. And then actually, I assume PTOC is what we did just recently. Yes, so we did that maybe 2 months ago. Angela and I and Pam attended the meeting and shared with them. And it was great for them to sort of learn from us, because I don't think they were as aware as to what was going on, and also that we are available. So if they have any other questions or any parents who reach out, they saw a face to the name and whatever is on the website. So.
Yeah, I think it's really important that all of our parents have an appreciation for our special needs kids, because there are times that I think our year ahead may be one of them when all parents need to be advocates. Because
You're absolutely right.
anybody could need those services at any time and never know.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Great.
Thank you for your leadership.
Sure. No,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you. Have a good evening. Thanks.
Very good. All right, and next up, I'd like to invite Kathy Badalamenti from our Bloomfield Hill Schools Foundation, who's going to give us an update of what's going on with the foundation.
Hi. If you give me a second, I just need to make sure that I can figure out where my presentation is. There it is. Okay. Good. I think I found it. I don't want you to see it yet, though, so don't peek. I just need to make sure it's there. So, hello. I'm happy to be here tonight to give you an update on the foundation. It's been a while. Since our last update, I'm sure you know that Jackie Al-Sayed has joined our board. She's been an active participant in the couple of meetings she's attended, and she's going to be a real asset to our organization, so we appreciate having her. So now I'm going to start the presentation. Let's see if we can just launch this. So this is we're starting our 5th year. It's the anniversary, our 4th anniversary, starting our 5th year, and I am happy to say that we have moved from surviving to thriving. And it's really a point of pride for me personally. It's a point of pride for the foundation board, and I think it should be a point of pride for this district. So we identified some key performance indicators that we are trending towards, and we are making we are making progress toward them and achieving some of them. So I want to talk about what they are with you. In any kind of foundation, in particular to an education foundation, donor growth is one. Donor retention is extremely important. For us, the growth of directed giving programs is significant in addition to general giving, and enhancing our grant programs. So I'm going to talk to you specifically about these. In terms of donor growth and retention, we have a 20-fold increase in donors since 2014. And that is in general donations only. That excludes directed giving. So that's very significant. I know prior to that, the foundation was having a difficult time in increasing donors, and there were a lot of factors interfering with that, the high school, building a new high school. So I think we've really overcome that hurdle, and we're able to reach out, we're cultivating donors, and we're making significant progress. Donor retention is very important as well, and this is a good number. My board doesn't even know this number yet because I just figured it out, but now they do. In our annual appeal this year, we had a 70% retention rate from our annual appeal last year, and that's very significant in development, so we're proud of that. Because of this growth, which has been very substantial, particularly in the last 2 years, we are implementing a comprehensive donor management software program. The one we researched and chose, is called Donor Perfect. It's a significant investment of money for us as well as time to ramp it up. I've been working on that for a couple of months now. But this program is not only going to be significant to the foundation, but it will be significant to the district at large. Donor management software programs help you establish, build, and manage relationships. They track trends and help you make smarter decisions, and they save time and increase efficiency. And that is beneficial to us as we're, moving towards 600-700 donors, and we want to understand what their commitment is to the district, and we want to be able to reach out and cultivate them. But as we talk as a foundation, and other groups in the district ask us to become involved in their programs, we understand that there are many, many, many donors across this district that have a connection and a relationship and want to build that. And we're talking with groups about involving them in this donor management software. We can do that as a district. We can use the software to help us understand why people are interested in partnering with us to support, financially support programs. So this is going to be a really significant program for us. We're glad to get started on it. It's a little bit daunting at first because I'm trying to, upload really information and back to 2008. And we want to make sure we do it right the first time so we get the correct data. But it's exciting. So directed giving growth. We have a number of fundraising initiatives that support particular specific programs. In the past, we did a fundraising initiative with Man and Nature to help that program stay vital and have the resources it needs to continue. We've done things with student leadership. They wanted to do a fundraising program. They did a fun run. We've done things with actually the swim and dive program. So we've done a number of them. This year we added two and they're very interesting, and I thought you'd be interested in them. One of them is the Compass Fund. This was a program, the foundation does a lot of alumni initiatives. We work with alumni. I give tours. I tour all the alumni groups that want to come through. And the class of 1997, both Andover and Losser called, and they wanted to give a legacy gift, which many alumni groups do when it's their reunion. They wanted to give a legacy gift back to the district, but they wanted to do it specifically to honor 4 of their classmates who committed suicide. And so they established the Compass Fund, and they fundraised for it through their alumni weekend. And they raised about $3,500. And what they've asked that we do with this is that as we consider our educator grants on an annual basis, we fund programs from the Compass Fund that are socially, emotionally based. So anti-bullying, suicide prevention, inclusion, mental health. And actually, we have funded these programs almost every year. So it's interesting as we move forward then, as we have the Shelley Lazarus Memorial Grant, we have a grant, the Superintendent Grant, now we have a grant that will be from the Compass Fund. And so whoever is the recipient of that grant will know that that's where it came from. This group is going to continue to market their fund to see if other alum will also be interested in contributing to it. It's on the website if you're interested in that at all. You can take a look at it. Also, oh, I'm sorry, Ed.
Yeah, is there any symbolism to the use of the arrows?
Well, they used to. So they developed this, the classes. So it's supposed to look like a compass. And then within the compass are the areas that they're looking in social and emotional health. And the compass is just giving someone direction in moving forward if they're suffering from some of these issues.
Okay, because they look like arrows.
Looks more like arrows, yeah. It's supposed to be it's supposed to look like a compass.
I don't know if that meant they're out there taking care of bullying and all that other kind of stuff or what. That's what I was trying to figure out. So.
I think it's supposed to look like a compass, and then these are the areas that they're targeting to move forward, give direction to. Positive
The older
direction.
I get, the more I have to ask these
I
questions. To make sure
understand.
I'm really following what's going on here.
So the other fund that we were working with this year is the Stewart Scholarship in the Visual Arts. It's been in the district for a while. Norm Stewart turned 70 this past year, and he and Susan came to the foundation and said, we really want to build our fund so that we can continue this into the future. So we work with them and develop a campaign, an outreach program, and as of December, they raised $10,000 for the Stewart Scholarship. And that is implemented through the high school, through the counseling department of the high school, but they have more funds now to continue that. So we're able to do these kinds of things. We love to work with groups. We work with PTOs. I'm working with Eastover right now on their fund run, just helping them. Sometimes it's coming up with ways they can fundraise. Sometimes it's simply helping them with a fundraising platform. But it's really nice to have that partnership in the district. So this is a really exciting aspect of the foundation this year, grant program enhancements. So we are actively collaborating with learning services and evaluating grant requests and providing funding. So that's not really that new that we would collaborate with them. When we have twice a year, we do our educator grants. We narrow those down within a committee within the foundation, and then we send them to administrators to take a look at to ensure that they're aligned with the district, what the district wants to do. This past fall, it was taken to a new level. So we had 60 educator grants. We narrowed it down. We sent them to learning services, and we really worked with them in identifying a number of grant requests that learning services could collaborate with us on. And some of the examples, there were 5 actually that we ended up with. So they had literacy for, let me get my notes here, literacy for English learners. So this was a grant that came to the foundation, and learning services said, this is something we can fund. We have a literacy grant ourselves, and this is a great program. We're going to fund this. So we took this grant out of ours and gave it to learning services, and that freed up an additional $4,500 for us to move down the grant continuum. Another one that was interesting, the science resources for the next generation science standards. We received several grant requests for this, and they were for different resources. Learning services said, these are great. These are resources that these programs need. They just don't need them in these 2 schools. They need them across the district. So we gave our money to learning services, pooled it with their money, and they are working to supply these resources across programs in the district. And then the last one I have here is classroom level libraries. It's a similar thing to the literacy. This was a grant submitted by the 4th grade team at West Hills. Learning services took a look at it, said, this is a great program, this is where we're moving, this is what we want to do. We gave our money to learning services. They're providing these resources across the districts to the 4th grade teams. This one, is this the one? I don't think this is the fund. Is this the Todd, do you remember?
The leveled learning?
Is it?
I thought it was.
Wait, I have it here. There's another one that was leveled learning. This one is leveled reading and writing materials so it doesn't say specifically, Cynthia, but it might be
I
to
think it
support
did
the
in the
development of
application.
background knowledge, content, vocabulary, oral language development, and writing to increase student literacy levels. So it could be those were the resources.
I think so.
And if you remember, we had supported a Fontes and Pinnell grant several years ago at one school. And that was our question at the time, how do you do that for one school, not for others? So this is a big step. This is, okay, now we are really integrating this program. We are understanding how it impacts the district, and we're able to provide the resources district-wide. So it's very exciting. So what do we have going on this year? We would like you to join us this year in a number of activities. Next week, next Thursday, we are hosting the Birmingham Bloomfield Chamber here at Booth at 8 o'clock in the morning. They anticipate 40 businesses. I know we had a member breakfast a couple of years ago when the high school was at Lasser, or we were at Hickory Grove, I can't remember, but similar thing. And so we're excited about that. We have a second round of our educator grants coming up from February to March. We have our celebration. This is our signature fundraiser. And it's March 24th. It's at Wabeek. It will be, last year it was a huge success. We had many people tell us they loved the format of it, so we're going to stick to that format. And of course, we invite you to come and appreciate your support. We have our Prize Patrol Day, which I always encourage people to come on. It's really an exciting day. That would be April 13th. And then we have our tribute campaign, which is growing. Our tribute campaign is when people have the opportunity to reach out, make a donation to the foundation, and then we send a card to the educator or whoever it is, coach, just letting them know that someone has supported the Bloomfield Hills Schools with a donation to the foundation in their name. So it's growing every year, and we're excited by it, and I get a lot of compliments from teachers when they get that card. So any questions for me?
I just want to say thank you to all the teachers who take the time to make those applications for the grants. They are amazing breadth and depth across the district, all ages, and amazing things that you would never think of. And they really sort of, I think, help to give us a clue about some of the cutting edge things that are coming down the line. It's fun to see whether it's balls to sit on, or special kind of desks, or reading tools, or cameras for the newspaper, or something at the Farmer Nature Center. It's all across the district, and they take a lot of time to present these ideas for us to consider. And I want to thank all the members of the board of the foundation who take the time to support our kids and support our teachers, to read all those grant applications. It's a big job.
It's a big job, and it's
And,
interesting because, for example, this year, I think we had almost 60 applications, and we have a committee that narrows them down. And this year, the committee said, well, we don't have any that we want to take out. They're all fantastic. So that makes it a big job for the entire board. And what happens is if your application is not accepted, you are put into the process a second time, which is nice because people do take a lot of time to write these applications. They're not lengthy, but they put a lot of thought into them, so we want to give them 2 cycles to have the opportunity. And they can resubmit it as well, but they have to rewrite it after the second time. And sometimes I'll have suggestions for them just from feedback from the board.
And I want to thank Kathy because
Oh,
she is
you're
reaching out to foundations across the state and beyond, to see what best practices and what makes a successful foundation, and it's making a difference, and it's changing and making us grow and be better all the time. So thank you.
Thank you. That's a really good point. In fact, now that Rob is sitting next to me, he hears me. I tell him all the time, I feel fortunate. I know we didn't have a foundation for a long time, but I think it's all, if you can say that, it's almost an advantage because we can make these leaps. I partner with the Birmingham Foundation. Is 25 years old. They're celebrating their 25th year, and we are positioned almost not quite equally in terms of financing, funding, the amount of money we have, but in the impact that our programs are having, the number of grants that we're giving, it's not that far off for such a difference in starting. And I think it's just because of the time and the way everybody has been so enthusiastic to ramp up, we've really made some strides. So it's nice to benchmark off of these other foundations, and we can kind of jump over a few hurdles without getting stuck.
Yes, Jason?
Any ideas on how the new tax law is going to affect the foundation?
That's a great question. So I belong to a nonprofit leadership group, and we have actually a seminar next week on the impact. They don't feel that for a foundation of our size it will have a significant of an impact, because honestly they don't feel that people are making the majority of the donations for tax purposes. But when you get into the higher level donations, which is actually what we're cultivating toward, there'll probably be some impact, and I'm gonna learn more about that next week. So I'm trying not to get nervous right now.
Any other comments? Thank you very much,
Thank
Kathy.
you.
Did you want clarification on the literacy? Did you want clarification on the literacy library for fourth grade?
Sure.
I think the question was if it was connected to the Fonte Centinel, and in fact it is. It helps correlate to Fonte Centinel and assists with differentiating instruction based on students' ability to choose just right books. So the Fonte Centinel would be connected to the literacy library. And I apologize. First, I thought I heard LLI, which is level literacy intervention, which is something a little bit different, but also connected to the Fonte Centinel. But I just want to commend Kathy for the work that the foundation did, and such a quick response when we saw that fourth grade submission come through, and thinking, oh well, we need that for all of our fourth grade classrooms. I mean, it took all about a minute to decide that we needed to expand that in throughout the district. So thank you for that. It's been a wonderful partnership between Learning Services and the foundation. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. All right, our next item on our agenda is to have a report on the data dig. I'm kind of guessing that's Wendy. This is Wendy Osman.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So let's find this. There it is. So it's my pleasure to share with you tonight the experience that we had on our Data Dig Day. So some basics of the day. It was on November 17th, and it was a really fun day. It was all day here, right in this room. We had 40 educators that participated. We had 9 facilitators and presenters sharing, and all 8 of our amazing Bloomfield Hills schools were involved. So it was a fantastic representation of the whole district. So when we talked about a district data dig day, it's very unique. I have not really heard of districts having a district data dig day, and one of the educators afterward called it a district data workshop, and I almost like that a little bit better. I thought that it really captured what the day was like. But this was a definition that I had found. Data dig encourages instructors to explore data analysis with a fresh perspective as they experience the real purpose of practical data analysis in rigorous lesson development, targeted differentiation and intervention, and the role of formative assessment in their everyday classroom experiences. Big, right? So there's a lot to do, a lot of learning. It's not like we were just looking at numbers all day. We had a lot of learning, a lot of great experiences. So the day's goals, we had 3 of them: to explore the impact of a data culture, the standards of assessment literacy, and the power of analyzing and using data. Overall, our goal was that we wanted to foster a culture that embraces data to improve student learning. So 3 big goals. And then this is basically just an overview of what the day looked like. And then the next few slides will really provide some more highlights so that you can understand a little bit better of what this experience was like for all of us. So one of the first activities that we did, it was called Images and Purposes of Data. And here what you're looking at is you are looking at some representation, some very visual representations from the different table groups that were at the day. And these representations were basically the messages that they wanted to share out after we basically just looked at how are we looking at data, what messages are we communicating about data, and really recognizing the fact that what messages that we're sharing really have an impact. If we talk about data and we think, oh, yuck, you know, that's not going to have a good, powerful impact on our educators, on our students. But if we think about data as, wow, this is really useful information, this can really help us drive instruction forward, it's going to have a much better impact on our student learning. Really thinking about that integration that data plays with looking at assessments to plan the instruction. So looking at that integration between content, instruction, and data, and how they all play a role. They can't be separated. So these messages, which we had some very creative, artistic people in our group that surprised us. These were done in about 15 minutes. So it was quick, and what surprised me the most is that I was expecting when they had this poster paper that it would be a lot of words. And instead, we had these very visual representations. So I thought that that was very creative of the group. So when you're thinking about data and you then all of a sudden can create an image that's so powerful and so visually creative, then you really are looking beyond those numbers.
I just have to ask what's P in that. If I can see the D, that must be data.
Yes, and so there's actually a P and an S and a T. The T is on the horse, and it's saying that the student is basically driving the data with the teachers and the parents involved. I had to ask about that one too. Yes. So right here what you're looking at are actual pictures of the day from a jigsaw activity. And with a jigsaw activity, what happens is that different people learn different things out, and then they jigsaw back and come together and form a little puzzle so that everyone has their own little puzzle piece of information. So during the jigsaw, each table group was divided to 4 different locations within the building and here as well. And you know, that way each person from each building was almost like a mini expert within that topic. So we had Christine and Todd that led a conversation about culture and mindset. We had Leah Heidenberg and Susan Payne over at Way Elementary School. They led a conversation about visible data and promoting a data-driven culture. We had Kimberly Hempton lead conversations about multiple measures. She's our instructional specialist. And we had a consultant from Oakland Schools, Stephen Sneed. He came and he led conversations about assessment literacy and the quest for quality. So everyone went for about an hour. They got to hear and experience these various topics, and then they came back to their table group and shared those experiences. And now within each building, we have somebody that had each one of those experiences. So that was very powerful. And it was nice to get so many people involved with that too, from teachers to media specialists to people within LST to people outside of the district at Oakland Schools. Any questions with that? So from there, we looked at the use of protocols when we're looking at data. And the use of protocols really helps us out because it allows conversations to stay on track and allows for really deep, meaningful conversations. And what's really important is that you're going beyond just looking at the numbers or the graphs or the data, and you're really thinking about the implications that it has for our students, and then the most important part, the next steps. Because once we have this data, that's fine, but if we're not going to do anything with the data, if it's not going to be powerful enough to impact our students, that's where, that's where we really want to focus. So the picture I thought was kind of funny. This was the group from East Hills Middle School, and they thought it would be funny to bring shovels to the Data Dig Day. So they really got into character. We didn't use the shovels, but I thought that was just a fun picture. So, basically everybody brought their own data to look at. I didn't force any groups to look at any specific data. It was the data that they felt they were passionate about. They just needed maybe some time and space to look at the data and really think about the further implications. So we had various data being looked at, English learner data, we had MSTEP data, Fontes and Pinnell data, all different types of data being looked at. From there, we invited DARE to come in, and Nicole and Deb shared the DARE calendar and the mission, and then they also led an activity for teachers to reflect on a list of common DARE questions to guide and inform DARE partnership discussions. So that was great. They were able to get some feedback, and everyone that was in the room was able to then hear a little bit more about DARE. So, really talking about those partnerships. We didn't have them come in until it was time for them to share, and that was because we really wanted to make sure that the space could be a space where we could really dig into individualized student data, and that's the type of data that we can't share necessarily with the community. So we waited until after we dug into the data. So that was great to have that partnership too. At the end, we did a reflection and an action. So groups were given time for individual and group reflections, followed by a time to plan for continued dialogue back in their buildings and action items. Some of the action items that they came up with basically were restructuring meetings to include a protocol. So something that they learned at the Data Dig Day was to that use of a protocol. Devoting an upcoming staff meeting for continued ongoing data messaging and conversations and or professional learning that basically entailed looking at data. So they were able to come up with their own individual action plans based on their needs and really apply the learning that took place that day and the looking of the data. In addition, there was a gallery walk of questions. So the one picture that has the green stickers, there were questions around the whole room, and the different individuals were able to put a sticker that basically would represent where they were at in the continuum. That was really helpful for learning services team. I've also shared these with the people that were at the meeting, and the teacher leaders and various groups, so that kind of guides what learning services team is trying to do as well. The reflections that they gave were analyzed, and then the far right corner where you see Data Dig follow-up, what I did is I followed up because it's very important for us to model that all of the data we get, we want to always follow up and take action. So if I'm going to collect data from them, I need to make sure that I am following up and making sure that I'm taking action with that data too. So you can see that there was a kind of an interactive email that was sent out with lots of links, and that was based on the reflections that they had given to me. And then that's something that we will continue to do. So that's kind of an overview of what our Data Dig experience was. It was a great day. People had a lot of fun, and there was a lot of great feedback from it. Todd, anything to add?
If I were to add anything, just thank you, Wendy, for putting this together. Wendy needs very little direction to come up with really what ended up being a fantastic day for the district. And the process really was about embedding culture or embedding data facilitation into our culture, and what he did an absolutely amazing job bringing that together. And it was a great experience for everyone. So thank you, Wendy, for that.
Thank you.
Jason?
Was there a data component to the DARE inclusion?
So with their component with DARE was really about the questions that they wanted us to consider. And they were data-related questions, both qualitative and quantitative.
Ed?
So the consensus, your assessment, was that the teacher saw how this could really be used to help them be that much more effective, because, I mean, that's their desire, right? They're
Yes.
trying to help the kids grow and develop and engage, and have even better and better outcomes. So they see the value in what we did and want to see it continue.
Right, and that it's a continuous process.
Good.
So there was like a analysis of data throughout the day combined with.
Use the mic.
Oh, yeah, sure. There was analysis of different components of data throughout the day, combined with a focus on different processes and protocols. So everything from just inviting people into the data room to model that, and then also model how that would be used, along with those different types of strategies in order to really kind of work on the culture that embraces data-informed decisions, and being able to bring that into the lesson planning design, that there would be a cyclical way in which you would take a look at data and really to kind of flesh out a design within a classroom, or maybe how a grade level configuration is looking at data to inform how they might design a tiered set of interventions. So it was actually pretty sophisticated and complicated work that the different groups were engaged in, and to bring in every building and kind of give them the opportunity and to really look at that data before we move into the school improvement process. So it was kind of trying to get in front of that, and then allowing them a little bit of time of reflection to strategize around some of those things that they may have discovered, or those conversations. And so then that even kind of led to some questions in terms of, should we be doing something in the spring, which we don't have an answer for yet, but definitely something that they would look forward to at the beginning of each year. And, being right in front of that school improvement timeline as well.
Yes, we had several people ask when we were going to do it again excitedly.
Yeah.
So that's always,
That's the right
that's
reaction.
good.
Howard?
Two questions, and that was one, in terms of this one-time event, are we going to be doing this going into the future? And it sounds like we will be considering
In
that
some
in the future.
capacity, at least,
In some
yes.
capacity. And the second thing is, can you help us understand a little bit of the connection between the data dig and student achievement?
So the data dig with student achievement is that and we were trying to make that connection. So let me just go back to that one slide. So with this slide is that what we were really trying to talk about is that data, they actually did an activity where they looked at that top right, and I asked them, where do you see that data plays a part? And then they caught on pretty quickly that, well, in every single thing that you see there, data plays a role. But maybe they wouldn't have been able to come up with that right away, but to see that visual was really helpful. So with achievement and data, then they started to realize that we can use data with all of this, and that when we're talking about data, it's not just the numbers, that we're talking about the qualitative data as well, the observations that we're seeing, and that it all is going to play a role. And we need to think about, what does achievement look like for our kids, and how do we recognize that? So what data are we going to use? And sometimes it's not a number, sometimes it is going to be an observation. So they started to get really, really comfortable with that, with the fact that it is a whole process and that connectivity.
How large group was there again in this?
40.
40.
But they were divided up by table group, so 4 for the most part, from each building.
Are they planning on waterfalling this back down into
They
their own
have
building?
already.
Okay.
Yes, so especially in our elementary schools, they've been having individual grade level data meetings where they're really digging into the data, mostly surrounding literacy. And they've been using the protocols that we modeled, and then I just recently shared another protocol at the elementary principals meeting, and then we've been sharing protocols with our GERT teacher leader group, and they're really enjoying it, and getting much more comfortable too.
And has Illuminate assisted in this whole
Illuminate
process?
helps a lot with it, because with Illuminate, when we have that data there, it helps us to then, it helps me at least sometimes to create graphs, and then some of them have custom reports that I've created in Illuminate, and then they can see, basically, they can filter it any way they want, whether it is by teacher or by grade or a certain student group. So that, yes, Illuminate's been very helpful.
Thank you so much.
Other questions? I'm just curious, the data dig follow-up that you have there, is that something you can share with the board?
Probably. I'll look and make sure there isn't anything specific to student data, and then I think I can.
That'd be great. Anything else? Thank you very much. It sounds like it was great.
Thank you.
Okay. So next we have public comment. And at this moment in time, do we have any public comment? No public comment. We should have on here a general discussion, which should have been on here. And I do have just a couple of things to mention. First is, among other dates that Rob was giving out, next Monday, the 22nd, is our next DARE meeting, which will be here in this room at 6:30. And you've been hearing a lot about DARE through some of our reports tonight, and I encourage you to come and join us at our next meeting. And then the next night is the small talk that Rob had mentioned. The next night, in case you want to be out every night next week, is our Oakland County School Board Association meeting, where they were going to be talking to the multi-tier systems of support to help be sure that our third grade readers are going to be proficient and set us in a good place for our testing and so on for our kids, and be aligned for the new law coming down the pipe. And then the next unusual thing the Oakland County School Board Association is doing is a Saturday meeting, Saturday, February 10th. I think you all got it on your email from Leanne. That is going to be a much deeper meeting for board members to learn more about the school finance collaborative research and their full report. And it's going to be a deep dive for board members to really understand how this information can really help us in our lobbying with legislators, in our conversations with candidates as the year progresses ahead, so that we can hold our elected folks sort of accountable and understand that this kind of study has been used as a catapult in other states across the nation to make a considerable difference. And certainly when they did this kind of a report in Ontario, it really has driven them to make a huge leap in a different direction from where they had been. So if you are able to, I know we don't usually sign up for a lot of big Saturday workshops, but this is going to be an extremely important one. There is one actually this Saturday with Plant Moran and Clark Hill on school law and finance, which they do a fine job. That will be happening this Saturday. And just wanted to ask each of you, so the board last met on December 14th. We had a study session on that date where we had a really good conversation. Our colleague Ingrid Day joined us to help us to start to think about how we wanted to proceed in creating school board operating procedures. We've never had a set written down operating procedures, and I think it's an important thing for us to do as we bring on new colleagues, as we move together to have a common set of understood operating procedures. And I wanted to remind each of you to please send to me your thoughts about the draft that Ingrid had presented to us, and thoughts about how you'd like to see us proceed, things that you agreed to with, or comments that you'd like to see us incorporated so we can continue to move that forward. And I hope to hear from you. Every one of us needs to sort of think about it and give some feedback. So I'll look forward to hearing from you on that. Anything else for general discussion from anybody else?
I just had one clarification. Maybe Rob mentioned it. I looked at the pink sheet, but the small talk speaker is at 7 o'clock, but it doesn't say where.
Here.
Okay, so it's Doyle.
In D, I believe.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Okay, well then, we have board business, and we have one item on our board business calendar this evening, which is the request to approve resolution approving a sinking fund millage replacement proposal. And I'd like to ask if somebody would make a motion to get the discussion going. Howard?
I move the Board of Education approve the resolution calling for a special school election on May 8th, 2018, at which Bloomfield Hills Schools voters will be asked to replace the current district's sinking fund millage with a 6-year millage at the same rate levied in 2017, which is 0.7165 mils.
We have support for the motion. Support from Jason. I have Tina Kostiuk here who's going to talk with us about the ins and outs of this one.
Yes, so we have discussed this at FFLA. We have discussed this at study session as well. And just a little bit of history. I only have 3 slides, but I thought especially for those that are viewing from home, it might be helpful to go over the sinking fund and overview where we're at. So we are currently in year 4 of our 5-year sinking fund millage. The current approved rate by the voters at the time that was approved is 0.74, and that is subject to the Constitution's Headley Amendment. Basically, Headley requires a rollback of the millage rate when the annual growth of our property taxable values is greater than inflation. And when that rate is rolled back each year, it's permanent. So right now, our rate is 0.7165, and that is the replacement rate that we are requesting on the ballot to be placed on the ballot in May, even though the approved rate is 0.74. What are sinking fund monies used for? So some very common examples over the years we've used for roof replacements, HVAC improvements, parking lots, flooring, ADA access and safety, some visible improvements like gateway spaces. The ballot language actually includes roughly the amount of revenue generated, which has been around 2.4, and we project 2.5, depending on where we're at. Again, we are capped with that Headley rollback. So that amount has allowed us to do all of these types of items year after year. And recently, the law was expanded, and I know our legislator in the community, Mike McCready, was very instrumental in helping the expansion of what the sinking fund may be used for. And that now is including school security improvements and acquisition and upgrading of technology. This expansion is only for any newly approved sinking fund millages. So that is the reason we're using the word replacement, because we have 1 more year left. Starting with this summer's levy, but if we are successful with the May election, then we would immediately replace that last year with this new amount, so that way that allows us to use those monies for the expanded purposes as soon as this summer. And then last slide is just the current 5-year sinking fund millage rate. Where we started was an approved rate of 0.74, but with the rollback that has to be calculated every year, that should not say value, that should say 0.7165, so I'm not sure what happened with that one. But that would be the requested rate with the asterisk next to it, is what we are looking for. Any questions?
Tina, if you could just explain what sinking funds can be used for and what sinking funds by law cannot be used for?
So sinking funds, it's actually can be used for repairs and some renovations, all of the things that I had listed. It may not be used for regular maintenance, may not be used for salaries, may not be used for employee compensation whatsoever. The law is very narrowly defined on what it can be used for. And this expanded use of technology and security is because we cannot purchase school buses with sinking funds, for instance, or vehicles, or loose furnishings. So it really is more of the bricks and mortar to continue to repair and keep up on more of an annual basis. No significant renovation, just not enough is generated for that. So that hopefully helps explain.
And about how much money do we generate every year?
It's been anywhere from 2.3, depending on home values, to 2.4, right in there. Now over 2.4 for this year, and then the projection is 2.5 because we are presuming taxable values will increase, and we're allowed to have an increase up to the rate of inflation in total.
And is that sufficient, that amount of money sufficient to handle all of the kind of maintenance work or rehab that we have to
repair
do?
work, yes.
Repair work?
Maintenance
Not
is the no-no
not
word.
maintenance.
So ongoing repairs to our capital buildings is what we've been able to accomplish with that amount of money. And Brian Goby is here if you have really detailed questions. Yes, Mr. Ford.
So, if the decision is made that we need to provide, a fresh coat of paint to the interior of Bloom and Tots, is that maintenance or is that repair?
Simply going and painting a room is maintenance, not allowed. If there is a renovation in a set of rooms, or maybe we decide to, like the gateway spaces, where it's a project that would involve paint to accomplish that renovation, it is allowed. There are a slew of treasury letters, actually, where when the sinking fund was new decades ago in the state, schools would ask Treasury, is this allowed, is this allowed? Because it really leaves a lot up to everyone's own judgment. And so all of us use that as our sinking fund Bible, and if there's anything questionable, we actually seek legal counsel advice, because not using the sinking fund for an allowable purpose would not allow us to ever levy it again. So we take it very seriously, and if there's ever a question within all of the guidance we have, we actually seek legal advice.
And I think our auditors review this every year to make sure that we're in compliance.
Yes, the sinking fund, just like any bonds for the high school, for instance, they're always audited every single year with an opinion that we are in compliance or not, which we have been, and we plan to continue to be.
So we've got this steadily shrinking allowance coming from Lansing, and we're going to use that steadily shrinking allowance to make sure that this place looks presentable, like paint and all that other kind of stuff. We're going to take money away from the fund that's used to educate kids and spend it on paint. Okay, just trying to understand the law. I'm not defending it, I'm just trying to understand it.
That's why you have a school finance collaborative project to look at how much money individual school districts around the state get, and are they getting sufficient funds to do the job that's supposed to be doing?
And capital is addressed, not in depth, and certainly that wasn't a big part of the finance collaborative's work, but capital is addressed as a component where we need to go and look at that as well, just like transportation, more in-depth study on those.
Yeah, Mrs. Ford and Mrs. Goby would consider that maintenance. So, Brian, get your brush and repaint that room. I mean, that's maintenance. I mean, we get that stuff all the time. I mean, oh well. More needs to be discussed about this.
Well, I guess I want to say, first of all, thank you to our Bloomfield Hills School District voters who have voted in our sinking fund twice, and it has made a tremendous difference in what we can do for our children, because we have had those funds that can be used for those purposes. And Brian and his team have been able to provide us with, through the years, sinking roof replacement schedules, likely need for replacement of HVAC items and so on, really to plan out how that $2.5 million annually could be spent on things that we know are going to need to be addressed, whether it's parking lot replacement or other items across the district that need refreshing. So I really want to be sure that we remember that it has made a tremendous difference, and it will continue to be able to be an important piece of protecting what our rest of our general fund by being able to renew this millage.
Yes, very well said. And it's an annual process to identify and make sure those dollars stretch and the priorities are placed where they need to be every year. Most of the projects take place in the summer.
But we're really fortunate that our community has given us that support so we can do this.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, Howard.
As I remember, the regulation from the state says that we can, or districts can levy up to, is it 5 mills?
It is.
Or is it 3 or 5?
It is now with the new law. It is 3 mills,
3 mills.
10 years.
Okay, so
It
we
was
could go
5.
up to 3. I think your group has done a kind of a survey in terms of how many mills different districts in the area assess and where we kind of fit in within Oakland schools and Oakland County.
Yes, we're very much at the low end, especially when we consider all millages for capital needs. So when we consider our high school and our sinking fund,
Which is around 1 mill.
we are low, yes, low in the county.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So we are being very prudent with the taxpayers' money and not increasing the millage at all at this point.
Right. At this point, we're asking for a replacement, which would be the same rate, and then we can start using the monies on the expanded uses this summer.
Do you have any other comments or questions from board members for Tina? I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries
Thank you.
unanimously. All right, well that...
Kind of explain how, and this might be a question for Shira, but how are we going to publicize this to the community? Because this will be an off year, or a May election, so therefore it's not something that will probably be the only issue on the ballot at that time.
Yeah, and Shira is working on that, so I expect that you will hear soon, within the next couple of months, and she is working on that plan. So the details I couldn't speak off the top of my head.
Okay, well, I want to say thank you to all of my colleagues and best wishes. Happy New Year to everyone, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, thank you very much.